Alright, so now we have a Kubernetes cluster deployed. Let's access it and see what we can actually do with it. I'll use my private key from here. We're the use of Vagrant and the IP address that we set for the master node. So we can get now information in regard to the cluster. Let's have a look at, first of all, the nodes that we've got. We see now we have 3 nodes, 1 master, 2 slaves, or 1 master, 2 workers. And you can see we don't have any pods. We have 1 service for the cluster. If I can spell the deployments, we can see we don't have any deployments either. So we can check, actually, this is the default namespace, so we can change the namespace to kube system, which will show us the system pods that are already up and running. You can see in here that we have the Flannel pods that are for the CNI, for the container networking. Same for the proxy. We have a scheduler, we have the etcd, and we have core DNS that are running as well. So these are the pods that we have running for the system itself. So if we want to create something, we want to deploy some containers, right? And essentially, as far as we're concerned in this case, a pod is a container, right? So we will take something that is already been uploaded to Docker Hub and deploy that in here. So I have a test app that I want to try to deploy here now. So let's do that. Just do kube run, and the image is and that's the image that we are using. I'm just going to name it web app. That is the name that is going to get locally here on our system. And since we are talking containers and pods, we can just do replicas, and let's just start with 5. Let's see. So if we look at the pods now, we can see that we've got 2 running and 3 are being created, and now all of them are up and running. We can also do something like this. We can essentially widen this window, and you can get wide output. So -O will show you more details on this. You can get several more columns. We'll show you the IP addresses of the pods themselves and what nodes they're running on. As you can see here now, they all have that 10.244 IP address that we specified before when we did the cluster initialization. You can actually have a bit more of a look at it, actually. You can describe one of the pods, so we can get more information about them. So you can see here now, we've got some of the events that has happened and more information in regard to it itself and the IP address that it has. But let's instead then have a look at if we can create then a load balancer for all of these guys. Actually, let's do this. That's the deployment. So we can see then, okay, so we got web app 01, we got 5 available there because we said, we wanted to have 5. So in order for us to access this from the outside, we do expose deployment and then the name of the deployment. And then we can say we want to have the service. This is going to create a service. So we can name the service HTTP, for example, because this is going to be a HTTP accessible service. We specify the type as load balancer and specify the port that we want it to run on, and then the target port of the container, that is the service that is running in the container. So we have a container with the service, a web service that is running on port 5000. We are pushing that out to port 80 on an IP address that is going to be provided by our load balancer. So container port, the external port, and then the IP that we get from the load balancer. So we do that, we can now see that we have a new service in there. And we can also see which external IP has been assigned to this. So if we now open a browser, we should be able to access that web service. Copy and paste that in, and you can now see that yes, we are accessing that web service. It's been configured. The container name will show up like this. So if we do the pod name, more like it, we can grep on that. You can see that this is the container that we've been accessing right now. And we have several others, of course. So if we go in and we refresh this, the load balancer will send us then to different pods, depending on if you just refresh this page. So it'll balance us across that. So that's nice, right? So that works. We now have a web service running in a bunch of containers that can be scaled up and down, and we can access it from the outside via our lovely load balancer. So we can do a few different things with this. First of all, we can say that modify this, so we can actually scale it. So let's say we actually we can scale it up to 10 or so. So we can say we'll do 10 instead. So we got 5 before, we do 10 now. If we look at the pods, they're not creating the pods there. We can actually do this too. Let's open a window so we can monitor this. Just sh in, doing the same command. Let's watch this. So we'll refresh the window, and we watch then kubectl get the pods. Now we can see then what's going on. Now, if we were to do something insane like replace the image in this, so you could modify the deployment itself. You can just say, set image, which is one way of doing it. You can also edit the deployment. So, for example, if we do this, so edit deployment, the web app, and then we can go in and we can check then the details of this. So we could do it from the command line. We could also have a look at this, and then we can see, okay, so we're using this image, and if we go to the end, we have the replicas in there as well. So we go up to the image, we'll see, let's see if we can actually change this. So we have a red one as well. Right now we can see here that it's blue. If we modify this, we will see then that if you look at the right hand side, it will change the image across once we do this. It'll terminate the old containers and update them with the new image. If we refresh here, we'll see we are getting a mix of the old and the new version. And now it's essentially only the new version that is there. We get the new image in there. So just in a few seconds, without any downtime, it has swapped the image that is being used to a totally different image for this particular pod or container type or service type. So that went pretty well. But let's say that we changed our mind, or let's say we have a bug in this. What do we do then? Well, luckily, Kubernetes remembers what we had before. So if we do rollout undo and then the deployment name, now it's just swapped from blue to red. Let's see now if we refresh this a few times. Yeah, we get the blue one back. So it remembers what we had before, and then it'll swap everything back, terminate the containers that we created earlier with the red image, and then get us all onto blue containers. Fantastic. So we can also scale down. So I wonder if we should edit this or not. We can just set it down to 3, and it'll terminate anything that is above 3. So Kubernetes is desired state, right? So you specify what state you want the deployment to be in, and it will do its best then to match that. And in this case, we say, okay, we want 3 replicas, which means that we have to terminate all the ones that are well, the 7 ones basically that we don't need. I'll go through and do that for us right now. It'll take a few seconds. So it's quite easy to do this, changing images, deploying containers and pods, scaling them up and down, creating load balancers for them to expose those services to the outside world. So that's just a quick intro to what you can do with your own private Kubernetes cluster, and yeah, have some fun.